Earlier this evening, I spoke to Janet Napolitano, former governor of Arizona and a former Obama cabinet secretary, and Congressman Denver Riggleman, the outgoing Republican representing Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Secretary Napolitano, I want to start with you. You served as Secretary of Homeland Security for President Obama. Tell me first how crucial Chris Krebs' role was overseeing election integrity, and why the fact that President Trump fired him for speaking out as cybersecurity chief has so many people outraged.
Well, people are outraged because Chris Krebs did a great job. He ran a sub-agency within the Department of Homeland Security called CISA. And part of CISA's role is the protection of our election infrastructure. He worked with people of both parties. He worked with state and local elected officials. He worked with the private sector. He really made sure that the U.S. election was run and won fair and square. And he was really fired for doing his job.
And that would certainly cause outrage. Congressman Riggleman, let me turn to you. You are one of the rare Republicans in Congress who've acknowledged Joe Biden as the president-elect, and that's 11 days after he was projected to win. You've described some of the misinformation out there as, quote, crossing the Rubicon, jumping on the crazy train, headed into cliffs that guard the flat earth. Why are so few members of your party challenging these falsehoods, and would you urge them to do so?
It's time to say, Mr. President, you know, there's policies that have been good. There's things that we have agreed with, but you have lost this race. It is time to say it's over. And just looking at this again, looking at from the vote counts, they're massive, looking at the data, there's no way this is going to be turned around. This election's over, Juju, and I know that's going to stun some people, right, to say that after 11 days. I think I'm being a little sarcastic, but it's time for the members of Congress, it's time for those in the Senate, it's time for those to realize that we need to help in the transition, that the country is bigger than a person, and that the institution is bigger than any man or woman. And I think we need to, our oath is to the Constitution, not to a human being. I think we all need to remember that, and I'm trying to do my best to do so.
Secretary Napolitano, how crucial is it for a transition to get underway right away from both a national security perspective, but also from the pandemic? President-elect Biden said today that by refusing to concede, President Trump is jeopardizing the vaccine rollout.
There's so little time between the election and the inauguration for an incoming president to, take over the reins of the federal government. And from a national security perspective, to get up to speed on the most current intelligence about threats facing our country and possible initiatives or actions that are in the planning stages. And then from the vaccine perspective, rolling out a vaccine for 300 million people is no small feat, and there are a lot of nuts and bolts to it. And the Biden team needs to know exactly what the Trump folks have in the works, what's already been planned, so they can build off of that and have a smooth transition, and we can move with alacrity to having a national vaccine campaign.
Congressman, President Trump's legal team has already lost or withdrawn 14 separate lawsuits that alleged election fraud. So does someone need to tell him that it's time to concede for the good of the country? And what do you think the most likely scenario is for that overdue transition?
I think the concession wouldn't happen until after this, I would say after this session of Congress is over. What I'm talking about now, maybe into December. And as far as the lawsuits are concerned, you're gonna want somebody, Judy, that actually has a technological background to go into court and argue some of this ridiculousness. And again, I would hope that all of us can come together and look at this now and say, okay, the election is over. We have a new president-elect. Let's move forward. And let's stop doing things like the secretary was talking about. When you fire somebody like a Chris Krebs, we're also losing the corporate knowledge for this transition from somebody like Esper or somebody like Joe Kernan, who was the USDI. You're taking away that corporate knowledge and that amazing amount of experience to lead us through this transition.
Congressman and Madam Secretary, thank you both for your time and for your perspective.
Thank you.